getting to play next to a guy like Marcus Simeon. What did you kind of learn from him or take away from playing next to him for 162?
Everything.
Who hits it high in the air to deep center? It is gone!
The Boston Red Sox offseason has reached a point where every new report, every subtle quote, and every shifting market dynamic feels like it could change everything. For weeks now, the narrative has been relatively clear. Alex Bregman is the priority. Alex Bregman is the target. Alex Bregman is the player the Red Sox want anchoring their infield and stabilizing their lineup for the next several seasons. That message has been repeated by insiders, echoed by analysts, and largely accepted by fans as the most logical path forward. But baseball off-seasons rarely follow a straight line. Quietly, beneath the surface of the Bregman pursuit, another name has continued to linger. A name that, while discussed often, has felt secondary. A name that now may be inching closer to the center of Boston's plans than many originally believed. That name is Bo Bichette. At first glance, the idea of Boston choosing Bichette over Bregman feels unlikely. Bregman is the proven fit. He's the elite defensive third baseman. He's the veteran leader. He's the player many inside the organization believe would bring immediate stability to a young clubhouse. But the longer this market drags on, the more plausible a pivot becomes, and the more the contours of a Bichette scenario start to take shape. This isn't about preference. It's about leverage, age, years, positional flexibility, and how the rest of the market may force Boston's hand. Right now, Alex Bregman remains the Red Sox's top option in free agency. That hasn't changed. Multiple reports have indicated that Boston has made an aggressive offer and that they are still actively engaged in discussions. But right behind Bregman, according to league sources, is Bo Bichette. And the gap between those two options may not be as wide as many fans think. Bichette is 4 years younger than Bregman. That matters. In today's free agent market, age often dictates not just price, but philosophy. Younger players almost always command longer contracts. And while that can feel risky on the surface, it also aligns more naturally with long-term roster planning. Bregman, at 32, represents a win-now investment. Bichette, at 28, represents both immediate impact and extended prime years. Defensively, the two players could not be more different in terms of reputation. Bregman is widely viewed as one of the most reliable defensive third basemen in the game. Bichette, on the other hand, has spent 7 seasons at shortstop with defensive metrics that most would describe as average at best. That reality has fueled the growing belief that a position change is inevitable, with second base emerging as the most logical landing spot. What wasn't entirely clear until recently was how, exactly, Boston would justify choosing Bichette over Bregman if forced to make that decision. That answer may now be emerging. On Wednesday, while reporting on Boston's aggressive pursuit of Bregman, Jim McCaffrey of The Athletic outlined a potential contingency plan. According to her reporting, if Bregman ultimately refuses to play in Boston or chooses another destination, the Red Sox could pivot and pursue Bichette to fill the infield void, most likely at second base. That distinction is critical. This isn't a scenario where Boston prefers Bichette outright. It's a scenario where Boston refuses to walk away empty-handed if Bregman falls through. Bichette is projected per The Athletic to command an 8-year deal worth approximately $212 million. That's a significant commitment, both financially and structurally. But it's also a commitment that makes more sense when applied to a 28-year-old hitter rather than a 32-year-old infielder. From a front office perspective, you're buying more prime years, more potential surplus value, and more long-term lineup stability. There's also a broader market dynamic at play here that could dramatically alter Boston's position. If the Toronto Blue Jays choose to prioritize Kyle Tucker over re-signing Bichette, the entire free agent landscape changes. Toronto has already shown a willingness to be aggressive, but resources are finite. Should the Blue Jays land Tucker, Bichette instantly becomes the best remaining position player on the market. Now add another potential domino. If the Chicago Cubs or the Arizona Diamondbacks unexpectedly land Alex Bregman, that removes yet another major bidder from the Bichette sweepstakes. Suddenly, the number of realistic suitors shrinks. In that scenario, Boston goes from being a secondary option to being one of the most attractive destinations available. Fenway Park, a competitive roster, a market willing to spend, a clear path to contention. For a player like Bichette, that combination carries real weight. The Dodgers, of course, loom over everything. They always do. If the Dodgers decide to push hard, they can outmuscle almost anyone. Any high-profile free agent conversation eventually circles back to Los Angeles, and Bichette is no exception. That reality alone prevents any team, Boston included, from feeling comfortable. And yes, there is still a very real possibility that the Red Sox end up with neither player. That's the risk of operating at the top of the market. If the Dodgers dominate, if Toronto pivots, if Chicago surprises, Boston could be left searching for alternatives once again. But the key takeaway here is not probability, it's plausibility. For most of the offseason, the idea of Bichette in Boston felt theoretical. Interesting, but unlikely. Not because Boston prefers him, but because circumstances may force their hand. Now, it feels situationally real. There are reasons the Red Sox might ultimately feel more comfortable with Bichette's contract structure, despite its length. Younger players tend to age more gracefully into long deals. Even if the final years become inefficient, the early and middle years often justify the risk. With Bregman, the concern is compressed value. You're paying top dollar for fewer prime seasons. There's also positional flexibility to consider. While Bregman is locked into third base, Bichette's willingness to move off shortstop creates options. Second base, in particular, remains an area where Boston has not fully committed long-term. Plugging Bichette into that spot, while maintaining versatility elsewhere, could appeal to a front office that values adaptability. Leadership dynamics factor in as well. Bregman brings instant clubhouse authority. Bichette brings star power and offensive upside. Both offer value in different ways, and Boston must decide which profile aligns better with its current core. None of this diminishes how strongly Boston appears committed to Alex Bregman right now. He remains the top target. He remains the preferred outcome. But the presence of a credible plan B changes everything. It gives Boston leverage, it keeps pressure on negotiations, and it ensures that if the market turns unexpectedly, the Red Sox are not caught flat-footed. The offseason is far from over. Deals can happen quickly, priorities can shift overnight, and in a market defined by dominoes, all it takes is one unexpected signing to reshape the board. For now, Red Sox fans are left with a fascinating question that may soon demand a definitive answer. If Boston had to choose, who would you rather see in a Red Sox uniform? The proven veteran in Alex Bregman, or the younger star with a longer runway in Bo Bichette? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Would you rather have Bregman or Bichette in Boston? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any Red Sox breaking news. We'll continue to cover every twist and turn of this offseason as it unfolds. We'll see you in the next video. Go Red Sox!